Hello and welcome to another video. As you will have seen from the title and the thumbnail, today I am bringing you some of my favourite LGBTQ+ books. I have 8 altogether and one of them is controversial, and I'm going to start with that and I'm going to explain why it's a favourite, because if I was to just say this is a favourite, people aren't going to understand. So if you know me, you might have guessed which one this is, but it is Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. Now, I know Leah is a crappy person. She is biphobic, which she is bi, and also biphobic. And she sort of like gatekeeps another character's sexuality. And I think at one point she actually says they're not bi enough. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I read this. But the reason why this is one of my favourites is because like 16-year-old Becca, who had not long come out, was Leah. And the reason why I love this book so much is because when I look back on how I acted like this and look at me now, I can see how far I've come. I think what people need to remember is that Leah is a teenager. She is going to be a crappy person sometimes. She is going to get things wrong, and she's gonna learn from her mistakes. And, you know, she's still not perfect by the end of the book, but you can't, like, this whole book takes place in the space of like 6 months to a year, I think, and you can't expect someone that young to change completely in that short amount of time. I mean, if you look at, like, if I look at myself, from the ages of 15 up until about 22, I was Leah. I was like so much like Leah. And yes, I can admit I was a crappy person in that sense, but I've grown and I've got better. I have learned and I've grown from my mistakes. And I think that's why I love this book so much, because if I had had this book when I was that age, it might have made me realise sooner, because you don't always realise when it's yourself when you're that young. So, and I'm not excusing it. I'm not making any excuses for how I used to act. But it's the fact that I read this and I can see how much I have grown as a person. And I just, this book has a special place in my heart for that reason. And I do completely understand why people don't like it. Like 100% understand. But that is my reasoning for why it is one of my favourites. I don't know if I would recommend it, but if I did recommend it, I would recommend it on the basis of go into it knowing that Leah is a pretty crappy person. And yeah, but enough about that one. The rest I'm not really putting in any particular order. They're just 7 LGBT books that I absolutely adore. So first up we have Read with Pride, which is the second book in the Paper and Heart Society by Lucy Parry. You may be thinking, oh, why are you putting a sequel on here? I recommend this entire series. However, the second one is my favourite so far. I haven't read the third yet, but the second was my favourite. There was a lot more diverse LGBT. There was a lot of mental health talk, and I just adored this book so much. There is a character that comes into it in this book. He is bisexual, and he is my favourite character. Not because he's bisexual, but just because him as a character is everything. And I just really loved this book and the first book, and I'm excited to read the third book. But this book was absolutely amazing. It's got so much. So I can't really read you the blurb of this one because it is the sequel, but this one is from Olivia's point of view. Actually, no, I can tell you about this. So basically, it follows the same characters as the first book. However, in this book, it follows from Olivia's point of view, and Olivia finds out that her school's library is making it harder for students to withdraw LGBTQ+ books. So a parent or some parents have complained because their child brought home a book that had an LGBTQ relationship in it, and the school has now made it so that if you want to get out certain books from the library, you have to have a signed note from your parent to say that they're okay with that. And Olivia reacts how anyone should react to that and is absolutely appalled, and she basically takes from her own collection of books and leaves the books dotted around the school for people to find. It's just so heartwarming and wholesome, and because of doing this, she becomes friends with people who are the people that want to be getting these books out, and they make it their mission to basically go against the school. And I love the librarian in this, because the librarian hates that this is happening as well, but she can't do anything because she is just going by what the headmaster is telling her to do. And it's just such a lovely read. The friendships formed in this are amazing. The rep is amazing. Obviously I can only really speak for the bisexual rep, which I think is amazing, but the other rep as well I think is done really well, and I just absolutely love this. Next up we have I Was Born for This by Alice Osman. I love Alice's book, that's no secret. You're going to see another thing by her later on in this video, but I absolutely love this book. Out of the ones that I have read, this is my favourite. I think partly because this follows like a boy band, and a fan of the boy band ends up involved in their life. I don't want to spoil it on how, but it's basically like a fan fiction come true, and I was living for it. This also has a trans character in it, and there's loads of mental health rep, and obviously I can't speak on the actual rep for the trans character, but it's there, and I've not heard anything bad said about this book, which is good, but I absolutely love this. So for Angel, life is about one thing. The Ark, a pop rock trio of teenage boys taking the world by storm. Being part of the Ark's fandom has given her everything she loves: her friend Juliet, her dreams, her place in the world. Jimmy owes everything to the Ark. He's their front man, and playing in a band with his mates is all he ever dreamed of doing. But dreams don't always turn out the way you think, and when Jimmy and Angel are unexpectedly thrust together, they find out how strange and surprising facing up to reality can be. Like I said, I absolutely love this book, and it is my favourite of her books that I've read so far, and I just love it. Next up we have one of my favourite books from 2020, and that is Used to See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. So this is sapphic. I love this. So Liz has always believed she's too black, too poor, too awkward to shine. She's planned an escape route from her small town via an uber elite college, but has no money to get there, until she's reminded of her school's scholarship for prom king and queen. Liz fears the spotlight, but must face the gauntlet of social media trolls and catty competitors. The only thing that makes it halfway bearable is the new girl in school, Mac. She's smart, funny, and just as much of an outsider as Liz, but Mac is also in the running for queen. Will falling for the competition keep Liz from her dreams or make them come true? This is amazing. It was so good. So yeah, Liz and Mac becoming something is like my favorite part of this. And also another thing I loved about this is Liz and her male best friend are so close, and everyone, that there's a point where people just sort of assume they're dating, and I love that. I love when in a book there's a friendship between like a male and a female character, because it just goes to show that, like, because everyone automatically assumes if you're best friends with a guy, like, I'm talking from experience here, if you're best friends with a guy, you're clearly in love with him and something's happening with him, and it's just like, no. I will say, and this is a spoiler, so skip ahead like 20 seconds if you don't want to hear, for like a slight trigger warning, but she is forcibly outed as bisexual in this, so if that's going to be triggering for you, which I know it is for some people, then just go into it, if you're going to go into it knowing that. But yeah, absolutely love this book, and I couldn't do this video without adding this one in. However, now it's making me want to pick it up now and reread it. Next up, we have the Magnus Chase series. I'm just going to hold up the first book, but we have the Magnus Chase series by Rick Riordan. So the first book, I wouldn't really say has LGBT rep in it. However, the second and third book do. They have a trans non-binary character, and that character is my favourite character in the series. They are amazing, and I just absolutely love how they handle things and how Magnus's like friendship with them grows. And I also love how it's dealt with, because Magnus is like clueless on everything and he gets things wrong at the beginning, and Alex is just like patient with him, but also like they try and like make him understand. And I think Magnus is amazing at how he learns pretty quickly, and he makes an obvious effort to not mess up. And I just love Alex, everything about Alex. Alex is my favourite character. But yeah, I absolutely loved this series, and although this is part of the Percy Jackson world, I do think you could read this trilogy separately if you wanted to, although it is nice going into it having the background from Percy Jackson, even though that's Greek mythology and this is Norse mythology. And obviously Loki is a prominent character because Alex is Loki's child. And yeah, I just really love this. And even if you take out the LGBTQ plus rep, just the entire book is the entire series is everything. I've recently read it and it's just like my favourite thing ever. I love it so much. Next up, we have another one of my favourites from 2020, and that is Cinderella is Dead by Kalynn Bayron. I'm gonna read you the blurb. It's been 200 years since Cinderella found her prince, but the fairy tale is over. Now, teen girls are required to appear at the annual ball, where the men of the kingdom select wives based on a girl's display of finery. If a suitable match is not found, the girl's not chosen and never heard from again. 16-year-old Sophia would much rather marry Erin, her childhood best friend, than parade in front of suitors. At the ball, Sophia makes the desperate decision to flee and finds herself hiding in Cinderella's mausoleum. There she meets Constance, the last known descendant of Cinderella and her stepsisters. Together they vow to bring down the king once and for all, and in the process they learn that there's more to Cinderella's story than they ever knew. So not only does this have sapphic romance in it, but it's a very dark twist on the Cinderella tale, and also it's a let's smash the patriarchy and it's amazing. I love this. It made me so angry in parts, but it's not because of the book, it's because the men in this are trash. Like so much, especially the king. But yeah, and I just hate how like the girls are basically just sold off as cattle, essentially. That's what they are, and it really annoys me. But you know, I understand why it's in this, but this book is just incredible. And yeah, if you like dark retellings and also sapphic romance, then this book is for you. And it's very shiny. I apologise for the reflectiveness of this, but it's pretty. I could have just used my paperback because I have this is the US hardback. I also have the UK paperback because it's a different design, and I couldn't choose between them, so I just got them both because I read the e-arc and loved it enough that I wanted 2 copies of this. But yeah, next up, wouldn't be one of my videos if I didn't mention Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. This is obviously a graphic novel series which follows Nick and Charlie. So this follows Charlie, who if I'm remembering rightly, he's recently come out as gay, and then it follows Nick as well, who is a bit unsure on what his sexuality is. Him and Charlie get to know each other, and boy meets boy. Need I say more? This is such a heartwarming like series, and I will say there are trigger warnings. There's mental health, there's a lot of mental health talk in this. Charlie suffers from an eating disorder, which is, I think it's talked about more in the other books and not so much in this. I don't think it's mentioned in Heartstopper Volume 1, but it is mentioned, I know, in Volume 3. And yeah, it's just such a heartwarming book. I absolutely love this, and yeah, I can't get enough of this series. I'm also looking at Volume 4, which is on my June TBR, and I'm like, I want to read it now. But yeah, and then I can't not mention one of my fave book couples ever, and that is Magnus and Alec from the Shadowhunters world. In particular, I'm going to say the Eldest Curses series, because I do think you can read this separate to the rest of the Shadowhunters books. The third book for this trilogy has not yet come out, but the first two are out and they are incredible. I love Magnus and Alec. They are my life. They're everything. And this book is basically, this series is their series. So obviously they are quite prominent in the other books. They pop up in all of them, apart from the Infernal Devices. I mean, Magnus pops up in that, but Alec wasn't even born at that point. But they are quite prominent in the other series. They are in the Mortal Instruments because that's where they meet. They are, and this actually takes place in between two of the books in the Mortal Instruments series, and then the second book takes place before the Dark Artifices, I believe, and the third book I'm not sure yet when that's going to take place in the timeline, but it follows them too, and I just absolutely love their relationship. They are amazing and I love everything about them. And yeah, couldn't not mention this book because they are my favourite book couple. They're everything and I love them so much, and I just want them to be happy forever. But Cassie likes to throw them curveballs, but she also brings them a lot of happiness as well. So those were my faves. I would recommend all of these with the exception of Leah. However, I'm not going to say don't read Leah, but make up your own mind on that. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've read any of these and if you love them. Also, let me know if you've got any other faves that you think I should be reading. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next time. And happy Pride Month.